by this Rachel
দেখ তো একবার
Carson, and this
ইউটিউবটা
book was
খুলে।
published late into 1962, which documented the adverse environmental effect caused by the indiscriminate use of pesticides. Usually in US also, in that time, these are not been regulated by certain agencies. Nowadays, there are agencies like US EPA, that is
জিএস
Environmental
ইউনিভার্সিটি।
Protection Agency in US, which control all these things. But that time, it was not there, and most of
জিএস
the
ইউনিভার্সিটি
industry
কলকাতা খোল।
who
আর লাইভ হয়ে গেছে।
manufactured or who supplies these kind of pesticides,
শুরু হয়ে
or
গেছে,
you
লাইভ
can
শুরু হয়ে
say
গেছে।
the insecticides, they have been accepted for their regulation, you can say, or for their uses in the market
তুমি
without
আমার
any
সাউন্ড
question, without any, you can say, providing the data. But over a period of time, she took the attention
কোথা
of
থেকে করবে?
the government and this environmental conservation
অডিও
people,
আউটপুট ক্যাপচার করা
and
হয়েছে,
she
ইনপুট করা হয়েছে।
observed a very specific problem that there is a drastically reduce in the in the uh, number of eagles, and uh, though she was not scientist, that
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
toxicological scientist, she should not able to, but somewhere she has pointed out that it may be the
তা
excessive
করা
use
আছে
of some
ইনপুটটা
insecticides or
কোথা থেকে
pesticide.
পাবো?
So she has given the
ইনপুটটা
thought,
বন্ধ করবো
and
কিভাবে?
the scientists take care of that study, and they have find out somewhere there is a you can say the link of DDT,
অডিও
which is now banned, and US Environmental
অডিও
Protection
ইনপুট
Agency, they have
ক্যাপচারটা বন্ধ করে দিতে হবে।
banned this DDT, and it is now banned worldwide. So there is a
আর
correlation of use of this
আউটপুটটা পুরো
insecticide with
ক্লিক
the
করলাম,
bioconservation, or you can
করলাম।
say the biodiversity, or the drastically reduce of
এবার
very
ঠিক আছে,
important,
এবার ঠিক আছে,
you
এবার
can
ঠিক আছে।
say species, animal species,
আগেরটাকে ডিলিট
eagles,
করে দিই,
which is play a very
আগের
important
যেটা
role
করা
in
ছিল।
ecological pyramid.
এবার ঠিক আছে,
So
দেখ দেখ।
always it is being suggested that we as a normal,
ইউটিউবটা খোল,
you can say
ইউটিউবটা
people or
খোল,
general human being, have to observe something in our day-to-day life, but we have that
বলবি
courage, we
শুধু।
have that you can say thought, we can point out it may be the due to some chemicals, or it may be the misuse
ঠিক
of
আছে,
some agents or some other compound which can
নিচ্ছে
lead to these kind of side effects or severe toxic effects in the
ইনপুট,
environment.
ইনপুট নিচ্ছে ইনপুট।
So this is all about what is toxicology in general, and in a simple way, how
আরে
toxicology
আমার কথা কি
evolved,
শোনা
or how we
যাচ্ছে
can
নাকি ওখানে?
correlate this toxicology in our day-to-day field. Now there is another term like risk, because whenever there is a
ঠিক আছে,
compounds, there is a chemicals, or there is an exposure, so there is always a risk associated with that. So if we analyze the risk
রাখছি।
assessment, or if we can do the risk assessment, we can very well find out the solution, or we can find out, you can say, the dose which has been important, or the dose response. So it is likelihood of injury or disease which is resulting from exposure to a potential hazards. So it is in our day-to-day life as well, or it is maybe of the some you can say occupational hazard, or you can say the some occupation where they are usually come
বলুন।
across with various chemicals and various reagents or agents, and these lead to some serious side effects because they are continuously exposed, and there may be the risk associated with that if we have not taken the proper measures, or proper you can say the protection from that exposure. Or it may be radiation, it may be anything. There are lots of studies going on in worldwide, like they have studied the exposure of even the gasoline, or the petrol people, which the salespersons who use this petrol. So there is exposure daily, because it's a volatile in nature, and this can lead to serious side effects or serious health effects on those persons. So it is very, very important to investigate all these side effects or all these risks which is associated, and how we can prevent it. So we can provide some solution, or we can give some kind of suggestions to prevent all these occupational hazards. And evaluation of risk embodies all these basic concepts of toxicology. So whenever we are been going to associate with risk assessment, or risk which is associated with any hazard, we have to a very sound, and you can say the basic concepts or basic principle knowledge of all this toxicology. Then only we can able to give solution, or we can able to give some kind of suggestions to all those persons who are directly or indirectly having those exposures. So the science of toxicology helps people make informed decisions, and they can make these decisions, informed decisions, if some scientific studies, scientific validations are there, and they can find out the balance between risk versus benefit. So we have either been benefited, and or we have been some risk which is associated with these kind of compounds or products. So there are lots of studies come, and you have seen also in the newspaper that there are increasing levels of highest level of the pesticide residues in our food products like fruits and vegetables in day-to-day life. And over a period of time, when we consume these products for a long period, a significant amount or significant concentration of these pesticides is accumulated in our body and leads to various side effects. So this is always a concern. Like, so we can say there is a risk associated with uses of these type of food, or you can say vegetables or fruits which contain a high amount of these pesticides. So this is what the risk, and what is exposure? So whenever, because there is a risk, so there has been some exposures, and how we can say the sources of exposures of these chemicals, they may be from the environmental, because in environment lots of pesticide, insecticide, they come from the environment to the human being, and environment also include the home and school or our offices, a different type of, you can say, compounds, chemicals, where we can expose in our day-to-day life. There may be occupational exposure that I have already been discussed previously. Right now, in our workplace, where we have directly encountered with some compound. For example, if there is a pharmaceutical industry, and this pharmaceutical industry making steroids or antibiotics, or if a person has not taken that appropriate measures, so these antibiotics or these steroids can administer, they can be exposed for that for a long period of time, and they have serious side effects for that. And there are some dietary, there are therapeutic exposure also, like we have to take some drugs, medicines, and for long term it can lead to some side effects or some toxic effects. Dietary also, we consume foods in day-to-day life, fruits we have consumed in day-to-day life, and they contain appreciable amount of these insecticides and pesticides, and they'll also lead to the severe toxic. So the exposure may be of various, you can say, sources, and there may be either accidental, we don't know, but due to accidentally we come across of these toxic compounds and we get exposed, or there may be deliberate. Sometimes intentionally people give those chemicals and agents, and they have severe side effects in our health. So when we are going to know the sources of exposure, we have to see the time of the exposure. That is very very important, because it is not only the exposure, the source of exposure. We have to also find out at what time the exposure is being done. Because if it has been not been done for a specific time period, so we may not get the side effects. For example, as you know, in case of COVID-19, or today it is a very, you can say, pandemic. So the researchers, or the most of the universities where research is going on, they have said if we are in contact with the patient for minimum 15 minutes, 15-minute is a time period, and if we in contact with the person for a 15 minute, so there may be the possibility of getting infection. If it has been for 2 minutes, or for just a while, you can say, your interaction with a person who is infected with COVID-19, so the chances is less. So we have to see the time period, at what time, or at what is the duration where the person has been in contact with the infected person. Likewise, in case of this exposure of the toxic substances, the time is very important, and in order for the chemical to produce a biological effect, there is a first issue of a target individual that we know as the exposure pathway. Okay, so once the source come, or there is exposure pathway, then it has to be reached to the target site within our body, and we usually describe it as a toxicokinetics. So there are certain pathways in our body where there has been you can say, affected by these toxic chemical or this toxic agent, and they lead to some effects on these pathways. So it is known as adverse outcome pathways, and this is the toxicity is a function of the effective dose of chemical and its target size, which has been integrated in a time. So how long has been exposure? The maximum is the exposure, maximum chances of the toxicity. So individual factors such as body weight can also influence the dose of the target site. So we have to see the exposure and the time period to predict the toxicity. And there are another point in that when we are discussing this exposure. So for exposure, the source of exposure is important. The time of exposure is important. Another is the route of exposure is very very important. So the route is an important determination of the ultimate dose, and different routes may result in the different rate of absorption. There may be the possibility that one chemical inhalational, or it can be through oral, or it can be through ingestion, but they have the different you can say the rate of absorption. So we have to find out in which case it is most effective. If a chemical is being absorbed in a higher rate through inhalation and the exposure is dermal, so we have to in that case assess the toxicity. There may be the possibility and there may not be the possibility, because the rate of absorption is higher in case of inhalation if the route of administration is through inhalation. But they have taken the proper, you can say, protection for inhalation of those agents, but the exposure is through dermal. So we have to check out, and we have to, in that case, we have to, you can say, do the risk assessment analysis, and in that case, we have to see what are the possibilities and up to what extent it is toxic or it is safe. Then the route of exposure may also be important. There is a tissue-specific toxic response. As you know that the compounds, they have either the hydrophilicity or lipophilicity, and various tissues, they have a different uh, solubility index, or you can say the hydrophobicity and hydrophilicity. So accordingly, the compound which has been exposed, it is very important to say that which in which tissue is going to be affected and what kind of toxic response it will show. And this toxic effect may be local or systemic, you can say whether, and it is also dependent upon the route of administration. So it has been either, you can say, through the dermal layer, or it can be passes from dermal to our systemic circulation, and from our systemic circulation to various organs or various tissues. So the time of exposure, and there is another important aspect, that how long an organism exposed to a chemical, it is very important. And webinar, you want to do it? Give me 5 minutes. So exposure is important in that case, and the time of exposure is another important aspect that have already been discussed. And how long an organism is exposed to that chemical is very very important. So duration and frequency, which contribute to dose, and they both may alter the toxic effect. So acute exposure is usually in a single exposure, and there is a chronic exposure that have multiple exposure over a period of time. So we can say that in some time the acute exposure have some serious side effects, but chronic exposure have more serious side effects, and the effect is in the, you can say, in the multiplicity, because the frequency is higher and is a over and over period of time. So we have to study both the acute exposure of that chemical, or you can say the acute toxicity studies and the chronic toxicity studies. And it has been very well designed by the OECD, that is Organization of Economic Cooperation, is a European agency which is giving the guidelines to conduct all these studies. Now there is a concept of dose. So there is a exposure. Now there is important aspect of dose. At what dose it has been toxic, which is a very important and key concept in toxicology. Whenever we have defined this chemical is a toxic, so we have to define the dose of that chemical. And dose is one of the important parameters which decide whether this chemical is toxic up to that dose or up to that level. So all things are poisons, only
Dr.
the
Verma,
non-poisons. And dose alone
hello.
determines toxicity. And all chemicals, they are
Dr.
either.
Dr.
Hello,
Verma, hello.
hello, I'm audible.
Y- 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 Yes, sir. So actually, we are hoping our session, like the time of the session is
Okay,
about to finish.
I'm just compiling my presentation. So it has been.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Sure, sir.
So it is a dose that define the toxicity that have already been discussed. So there is very interesting studies on water. Even at some dose, water is also toxic. So, like sometimes say how we can decide this chemical is toxic or this chemical is not toxic. If water can be toxic up to certain level, so all the chemicals are toxic in a certain dose. Now we have to find out the dose response relationship. Once we have a dose, now we can find out at what dose this compound has been toxic. And there is a dose response curve where we find out the effective concentration, where the response from minimum effective concentration, and then there is a threshold, and then there is a toxic level. This we know in our pharmacy subject. We teach these all things in our pharmacology, and we have to see every compound have that is effective dose and lethal dose. We know that ED50 and LD50, and there are certain population we have to study in the various population of the CD50 and LD50. There are population which are resistant to those individuals. There are population which are sensitive to those chemicals. So we have to always see the left side of the curve and the right side of the curve. There are majority of the people may be showing the you can say the effect of this drug, that is a good effect, but there are certain population right side and left side, they always show the negative effect of those compounds. So there is also, like, some chemicals are transformed in a metabolism, and they lead to the detoxification, and they lead to the less toxic metabolic products, and they have been excreted in our body through kidney, through liver, or through lungs. It's depend upon. And there is a biotransformation in our body. It's a very important process. And when we discuss all the toxicity, the biotransformation is used lead to the activation of our compound into more toxic metabolite. And there is a toxicological paradigm where there is and early biological effects come that has been elicited either through some pathways or through some chemical through enzymes, uh, and they lead to the alteration in the structure and function, and then disease come. And these two exposures and those lead to the absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, and storage, whereas these effects lead to the genetical and nutritional status of the person. So the left side, we study this what the chemical do with us. It is a toxicokinetics, and what the chemical does to us. It is a toxicodynamics. Then this is metabolism. Everyone knows. So this is another a very interesting slide. Like there is a typical population. Whenever we are going to assess the toxicity of any compound or any agent, we have to see these. Not the majority of the people. We have to see the people who are sensitive, who are not been responding to those chemicals. So we have to identify people with different chemical or drug sensitivity. So sometimes you have heard that there are certain drugs which has been withdrawn from the market after a long period of time. The only reason is that they have till now not been exposed to the persons who have different chemical and drug sensitivity, and once it is going to be exposed, we have to be withdrawn. So if we do these things prior to the you can say release in is always helpful for the pharmaceutical industries or for the manufacturing companies. Now, there are certain tools of modern and molecular toxicology, genomics, or proteomics. We can say now there are methods like I think whether you have heard or not, there is a now organ on chip where all organs are in one chip, and through the help of output screening, we can assess the toxicity. We can mimic, and we can, and there are some computational methods available through the use of some computational software or computational methods, or with the advancement, or you can say the emerging areas like machine learning or artificial intelligence, we can make some algorithm of any compound, and we can, with the help of the computer or with the help of some software, we can assess the toxicity very well. There are certain parameters, certain values, and this parameter and value suggest about the toxicity of every compound, or you can say the chemicals. So in general, I would like to conclude my talk that this toxicological science is one of the very, very important field nowadays, and it is one of the emerging field. In most of the Western countries, they have been taken care of these science very well, and there are lots of opportunities in terms of job, in terms of business. Lots of opportunities is available for this field. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Verma. Now, I would like to request if any of you, any of the participant, is having any questions. So I have received a question from YouTube. So a person named P. Kumar has asked, as our session is live on YouTube, he has asked there that nowadays we are using alcohol-based sanitizer. Can they cause cancer in regular use?
Okay, alcohol-based sanitizer. Yes. So usually, right, this alcohol-based sanitizer, we have to see at what, up to what extent we have used this alcohol in the sanitizer. Number one, because there is a concentration required. There is minimum concentration required to produce the uh, effect, that is antimicrobial effect or antibactericidal effect. But yes, this can be lead to some serious adverse effect when we use in a higher dose, or and it is in a long term exposure of these kind of agent. Everything in a long term exposure lead to some effect. I am not sure whether it whether it causes cancer or not, because these type of studies has not been done yet now. But yes, some other effects may be there.
Right. So thank you, sir. So there is a one more question in our chat box that says, does AMI's test have any implications here for possible mutagenesis?
Pardon.
Sure. Does AMI's test have any implications here for possible mutagenesis?
Which one?
AMIS, AMES, AMIS test.
AM?
ES.
Sorry, I am not under. The question is not clear.
It's AMIS. Okay. I would request our participant to reframe the question if possible. So by the meantime, I would request if there is any more questions.
Yeah.
No, sir. There is till now. There is. Yes. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, sure.
So there is my email ID. You can send me this question to email ID. I can revert back.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was just about to say that, sir. So we are taking all the questions from the Facebook Live and YouTube. We'll be taking the question. We'll be mailing that to you, and you can have all those, and you can answer those later.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for your time, sir. It was really a nice presentation. Thanks for your time. Now we would be moving to the next session, next plenary session. This will be our plenary session 2. So we will be having our speaker, the next speaker for the plenary session 2, Professor Dr. Milind Parley. So we already heard him during the inauguration time. So before he starts his presentation right now, I would like to give a brief introduction about him with his permission. So Dr. Milind Parley is the Professor of Pharmacology and Dean of Faculty of Medical Sciences, Guru Jambheshwar University of Science and Technology. Dr. Parley has more than 30 years of teaching experience, administrative and research experience to his credit. Prior to taking up academic position in the university, Dr. Parley had served on All India Council of Technical Education, that is AICTE, Ministry of Human Resource Development, New Delhi, in the capacity of our Deputy Director. He has published more than 300 research articles in prestigious national and international journals. His area of research includes psychopharmacology, behavioral pharmacology, neuropharmacology, Alzheimer's disease, music therapy, sports sciences, traditional complementary system of medicine, and many more to go. He presented four research papers in 20th International Conference of Alzheimer's Disease, which held at Japan in the year of 2004. All India Council for Technical Education, and he also been awarded for major research project by UGC, AICT, DST, that is Department of Science and Technology, New Delhi, and obviously ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, New Delhi, for his for the on discovery of memory enhancer and benefits of Indian system of medicine. He is a life member of several international and national professional bodies related to pharmaceutical sciences. He was recently invited as a plenary speaker by Malaysian government in the August 2014 to share his research experience specifically at Tamara University of Technology, Malaysia. Professor Parley has 7 patents in the area of psychopharmacology. He was also conferred prestigious Rashtriya Gaurav Award in 2013 at Indian International Center, New Delhi, for his outstanding achievements, and the Best Pharmacy Teacher Award for the year of 2015 during the second annual conference of APTI held at MD University at Rohtak. So this was a very brief introduction, though I would like to tell that about Dr. Milan Parley. So it is really our pleasure and it's my privilege that to announce his name as a speaker for our conference. Now I'll request Dr. Parley, sir, if you please move to your presentation. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir. Absolutely.
Right. And I'll just like to share my slides. Can you see my first slide?
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
My slide is visible, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Right. So if you can hear me and if my slides are also clear to you, let me begin. So today,
absolutely, sure, sir.
I'll be delivering my talk on the topic how to be innovative. And this work actually we carried out at Guru Jambheshwar University of Science and Technology. And in the initial part, I'll be covering, as I said in the morning, how one can become innovative. Each one of you who is listening to this speech today would become innovative if he wants to be. And then in the second part, I'll discuss a success story of how one of my young students, a girl student, uh, became innovative towards the end of her doctoral degree. So let me tell you first what is discovery. Discovery is finding or spotting something for the first time. Like I told you in the morning, if you are going for a morning walk in a garden and you see a blue bird for the first time, the garden exists, the bird exists, you see it for the first time and nobody else has seen. So it's a discovery. Another discovery in history is Vasco da Gama discovered India. He was a Portuguese explorer and the first European who traveled via sea route to India, and he discovered India. Similarly, America was discovered by Columbus. America existed, but it was discovered by ocean route by Columbus. Whereas invention is something which does not exist on Earth. It is something creating, producing, or designing something for the first time. And one has to be innovative. Whether you want to have a discovery or an invention, you should have a new idea. or you should be innovative. Then this leads to invention. We know the names of great inventors like Thomas Edison, Einstein, Isaac Newton, etc. So if you have innovative nature, it distinguishes between a leader and a follower. I hope you are able to hear me. Yeah, is my voice clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear, sir. It's absolutely clear, sir.
Thank you. So, see, innovation is just thinking out of the box. I find the children, school going children of primary school and secondary school, from first standard to seventh class, are the most innovative persons. I could file 8 patents for the new discoveries were not from doctoral students or postdoctoral students. Of course, they were involved in the experimental part, but the idea came from school children because they think out of the box. Now, the process of translating this idea into a product, device, or a service which is valuable is an invention. So, innovation or an invention is a net consequence of inspiration to perspiration. First, you should have inspiration to have a new idea, and then you should perspire in the lab to prove, to make that idea useful for the society. See, when I was doing my research many years ago, 35 years ago at Punjab University, Chandigarh, we have in the photograph a senior pharmacologist, one of the most eminent pharmacologists renowned internationally, Professor S.K. Kulkarni. While I was doing my experiment, he told me one thing on the very first day. He used to sit by my side and he said, there is a way to do this in a better manner. See if you can find out. And he walked out of the laboratory. The message was, there is a way to do it better. See if you can find out. And it started haunting me. I have to find out a better way. Now, to become innovative, when we attempt to improve ordinary things, we actually create extraordinary things. When we want to improve ordinary things and we do it sincerely, we are actually creating extraordinary things. This is a photograph in a laboratory from Government University in Delhi, DIPSRU, first pharmacy university of state government of the country. And in COVID era, yes, in the month of March, this is a lab, and we were having a technical discussion. When you refine absurd things, you actually produce novel things. You should have guts to accept absurd things, and then you will be ending up with novel things. Dekho, now this is COVID era. So we have to take care of ourselves. We have to follow sanitization, distancing, masks. जिंदगी संवारने के लिए जिंदगी पड़ी है, ये लम्हा संवार लो जहां मौत खड़ी है. जिंदगी संवारने के लिए जिंदगी पड़ी है, ये लम्हा संवार लो जहां मौत खड़ी है. Now, if I say that last month I have got an award and that is sufficient for life, I cannot grow. I am stagnating. The stagnation of success is to believe what you achieved yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. No success is ultimate. You have to continuously strive to have one after another. Otherwise, you'll be stagnated. And nobody likes stagnated water. You know, there is a difference of flowing water and stagnated water. Stagnated water starts sinking, it starts stinking, bad smell comes. We like to have fresh, we all like fresh odor. So we should be like a river, flowing river. If you want something new to happen, stop doing same old things. Whatever you are doing, and if you expect that wonderful things will happen, they'll never happen until you stop doing the same old things. Now, innovations. They don't come when you're under stress. They don't come when you're under pressure. They don't come when you are exhausted, when you have targets. Innovations happen when one is free to think, experiment, and speculate. Be passionate in life. Sachin Tendulkar, for example, when he was in the class of 8th standard in school, he decided that, well, cricket is my passion. And when he retired from cricket, he had hundred of hundreds, a world record, which is yet not broken, and several records in 2020, in one day cricket and in test cricket, only because he was passionate in life. See, as a pharmacist, a research scholar is taught that when you have to discover a new medicine, from some potential 10,000 potential substances, there are only 250 biologically active compounds. Out of 10,000, only 250 are active. Out of 250, 225 are toxic. Our previous talk was on toxicity. Only 5 reach till clinical trials. Only 2 of them pass long-term toxicity. And then we have one approved medicine. Imagine from 10,000 potential substances, you have one approved medicine. And it takes around 10 years of time and 1 billion US dollars. But today I'm going to tell you a success story. You don't need 10 years, you don't need $1 billion. If you have an idea, if you're innovative, if you understood the tips I have given, you will be a scientist overnight. I'll tell you how. For example, let's take a disease, Alzheimer's disease. Now, Alzheimer's disease, I have taken one example because even American president of a superpower, Ronald Reagan, he died of Alzheimer's disease. My father also is suffering from Alzheimer's disease, but he is of 96 years of age. Now, this disease, in which main hallmark is dementia, there is loss of memory. President of America did not have any memory of White House. He could not identify his wife. So this disease is named after Alois Alzheimer because German physician for the first time in 1901 identified that a lady of 51 years has a special memory loss which is attributed to senile plaques in the brain, and they are not due to aging, they are due to Alzheimer's disease. Now, the causes of Alzheimer's disease are age, improper diet, sedentary lifestyle, low education, environment, head injury, brain inflammation, estrogen deficits, genetic disposition, consumption of some medicines, and alcohol. All these are causes of Alzheimer's disease. If you do not have a healthy lifestyle, in one sentence, you are likely to suffer from Alzheimer's disease. But this is a disease of advanced age. Normally, it is seen in senior citizens. But yes, with the new generation, with erratic lifestyle, this senior citizen age is getting reduced. And we have Alzheimer patients even in the age of 50s and even in early 40s. Now, what are the clinical signs of Alzheimer's disease? Clinical signs of Alzheimer's disease are dementia of recent events. Dementia is memory loss. There are 2 kinds of dementia: retrograde dementia or retrograde amnesia and anterograde amnesia. Amnesia is temporary loss of memory, dementia is permanent loss of memory. If you remember old things while you were in college, school of 20 years ago, very well. But if you have forgotten what happened last month and last year, you have anterograde amnesia. And if you forget old things, you have retrograde amnesia. Now, when you have amnesia or dementia, there is difficulty in performing familiar tasks. You suffer from aphasia, which is loss of expression. While you speak, you forget the words. Agnosia, you are unable to identify objects. Apraxia, loss of motor skills. Dyslexia, loss of reading ability. We had a Hindi movie of Amir Khan where dyslexia, Tare Zameen Par, child was suffering from dyslexia. Agraphia, difficulties in writing skills or spelling skills. Abnormal behavior, disorientation of time, place, and persons, and loss of executive functions. Now I'll define memory, what memory is. Memory is an ability to remember. It's a complex function of brain where a person can retain a lot of information and later on retrieve. In experts, it is far from being perfect but impressive, and memory is crucial for career and executive functions. Now we have three types of memory. Why I'm going to talk about memory today is memory is very important, whether for a child, an adolescent, adult, an executive, or an elderly person. You may or may not suffer from Alzheimer's disease, yet you require to have good memory. If you have good memory, you grow in your profession. You become an expert. So sensory memory is something which holds all we see, hear, taste, smell, and feel. Just imagine if we are standing at an airport or a railway station or a mall. We see several persons. We see chaiwala, we see somebody selling newspapers, books, pakoras, and then we see a friend uh, whom we like to talk. So our attention goes there. In sensory memory, it is very short-lived. Majority of information fades away. But when our attention goes, when attentional gate is applied, it gets converted into short-term memory. Short-term memory or working memory. It is a workbench of consciousness. It has a limited capacity. 7 items. For example, suppose you are told a phone number and a number like 98579, you'll forget. But if the items are less than 7, you remember 98579. 5 items, you can very well remember. But 10-digit number, you find it tough. This is a temporary storage. It lasts only for 30 seconds. Maintenance rehearsal prolongs it. If you do rehearsal, it will be prolonged. Useless information is lost forever. It can be easily interrupted. It's like a leaking bucket. Continuously water is flowing into the bucket. Similarly, what lot of information is flowing onto our brain networks. And only where we apply our attention or do rehearsal remains, rest of all fades away. Then we have intermediate long-term memory, where repeated exposure, cramming, maintenance rehearsal, without understanding the meaning, if we do not form concepts, if there is no conceptualization, there is no long-term memory. It is intermediate long-term memory. Like students start studying at 11th hour. After the timetable is displayed on the notice board, say 1 week before exams, they start studying. Overnight, they are awake. They remember the information for a very short period. Sometimes they go blank, they don't remember because concepts are not formed. This is intermediate long-term memory. Then we have long-term memory. Long-term memory is something where you can retain the information for entire life. Now, this is an hallmark of an expert, one who has good long-term memory, one who knows how to develop long-term memory, becomes an expert, is successful throughout his life. Actually, structural synaptic changes take place in our network. The brain parts involved are amygdala, hippocampus, and cerebral cortex. This is where networks takes place. A lot of neurotransmitters are involved. Acetylcholine is one crucial neurotransmitter, but there are others also responsible for developing good memory. Long-term memory is a lasting storehouse. Meaningful information will last forever. For example, if you have seen a movie, old movie Aradhana of Rajesh Khanna and Sharmila Tagore, you'll remember it whole life. You don't forget it. It retains vast amount of material for long periods, and there is no danger of running out of space. Our brain has, unlimited capacity. Now, coming to the laboratory models, I am going to tell you a successful story. At present, I am going to tell you how each one of you, if required, can become a scientist. Whatever your field is, whether biotechnology, engineering, pharmacy, or dentistry, you can become a scientist. You can become an innovator overnight in any area. There is scope for innovation in every area. Now, behavioral models, which are used for testing memory in animals, are zero maze, step down paradigm, water maze, active avoidance paradigm, Hale William maze, Y maze. And then there are some interoceptive behavioral models. Exteroceptive are those where stimuli lies outside the body. Interoceptive are those where stimuli lies inside the body. I'll just tell first two. Scopolamine is an anticholinergic and diazepam. We know diazepam compose as a sedative. So these two agents, scopolamine, diazepam, they induced amnesia. Ethanol, alcohol also. You have seen in movies or those of you who undergo a setback in life, say in your relationship, in love affair, if somebody teaches you, one becomes sharabi and likes to forget. Gum bulane ke liye. So ethanol also induces amnesia. So these are the models. In animals, we produce amnesia by administering these chemicals or by subjecting to these equipments, we test the memory of animals. But these are not good models. Exteroceptive behavioral models, for example, human brain is very complicated and it's very difficult to develop a model in animals. Each of these models, Morris Water maze is very popular to test memory analysis. Now, when you are a scientist, when one of you becomes a scientist tomorrow, you would like to file a patent for it. Patent is something which is your own property. You will get royalty for your discovery in thousands, lakhs, sometimes in crores of rupees. Now, many countries are struggling to discover a new vaccine or a medicine for coronavirus. So, your discovery should be non obvious. Non obvious means an ordinary skilled man, based on the literature, should not be able to arrive at your discovery. It should have one innovative step or inventive step. It means it should not be just workshop arrangement. You see somebody's discovery in literature and you make minor amendments, you make minor changes, and then you say this is mine. You do not get a patent because it is just mere arrangement and rearrangement of the same components. And then, yes, it should have commercial application. The only way to survive in this world is by continuously transforming yourself into a new entity. It is this idea of continuous transformation makes you an innovation company. Now, coming to the story which I am going to tell, just maximum of 10 minutes I would take. A simple idea can lead to a great invention. A simple idea can lead to a great invention. designing and fabrication of a new animal model for memory. Now, in the photograph, you see a chessboard. Human mind is complex, humans play chess. Can animals play chess? Can rats play chess? Let me answer this question. One of my doctoral students one day came to me and said, "Sir, chess is a mind game, and let us discover a model for memory using chessboard." I said, "Okay, fine, go ahead. How are we going to do it?" The candidate said, "Sir, that's your lookout now. I have given you an idea. You find out how animals can play chess." Being a chess player myself at international level, being a pharmacologist myself, having innovative mind, I have got an idea. I started thinking over it, and we designed a cognition board. I'll explain the parts of this board. Now, for a new discovery, we should have a new principle. The principle was cognition board is like a chessboard. The word cognition comes from cognitive abilities. We are discovering a model. We all are trying to become a scientist. We are discovering a model for testing memory in animals. The idea is to develop a board like chessboard. We developed a cognition board. This cognition board consisted of two boards, sensor board and drop board. It's not very difficult. I'll show you the figure, you'll understand. Just remember, it consists of a sensor board and a drop board. Animals form memory on repeated exposure to cognition board. Normally, whenever we are exposed repeatedly to a particular information or skill, we develop memory. Same is true in animals. Animals learn fast. If there is a mild setback, animals learn. And human beings also. What you remember the most? All those setbacks. If there was a theft in your house, you remember. If somebody had ditched you, you remember. Yes, was, right? Can you hear me? Hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Right.
Yes.
So animals learn very fast, and when there is a mild setback, they learn. And we wanted to develop a new endpoint. Now you look at this board. These are two chessboards which are same outwardly. For human beings as well as animals, they look same. On left side we have sensor board. On right side we have a drop board. Now the difference between the two boards is, in the drop board there is a drop bag. There is a cloth bag below, which is not there on the sensor board. For animal, both boards are same when you are keeping the animals on the board. You can see a black square. You can also see a black square on the right side. You can see a white square on the left side. You can see a white square on the right side. Now the difference here is the sensor board has electronic sensors attached to the black square. White squares are solid. They are non-fixed. Both sides, white squares are solid. Black squares on the right side are hollow. On left side, they are not hollow. Black squares are hollow. Therefore, animal can drop into the black squares. Therefore, it is called a drop board. Going to the next slide. Now, here you will see when we keep the animal on the drop board, mouse drops through hollow black square. It's a mild setback. And we see the animal in the cloth bag. Now the animal remembers that black squares are the ones where it can get dropped into cloth bag. This is the mild setback animal faces. So it shows when you repeatedly keep the animal on the same board, it learns. It learns through repeated setbacks that white squares are safe, black squares are not safe. Actually, black squares of drop board are not safe, but animal feels both the boards are same. Therefore, it starts moving on white squares only. Now here we see animal is showing a safeguarding behavior. Mice is standing on hind legs but does not move on to the black square. Here also it is on the right side, touching black square delicately with the paw, but it is not moving. It is observing. Will it fall down? And it tries to remain where it is. Or the animal moves along the diagonal now. An animal moves only along the white square. So this was our end point. Animal moving diagonally or animal showing safeguarding behavior. And a new model. We have a safeguard behavior, a new endpoint, not reported in literature. There is decrease in number of drops through drop board. When the animal has developed memory, when the animal learns on repeated exposure, we have decrease in number of drops. So simple. We have decrease in number of counts on sensor board. Now, electronically, when you keep the animal on sensor board, you get decrease in the count. This is learning index. So simple. Now, this model, which is an innovation, it's a very simple and cost-effective model. Whatever models are available in the literature are very expensive. Digital camera is fixed there. In Morris Water Maze, we have a quadrant, we have a water tank, we have escape latency, we have hidden platform, several things. There are no noxious stimuli or torture. In some of the models of pharmacology, electric shock is involved. The endpoint of cognitive board is peculiar and unique. This is a unique endpoint model. Whatever models are available in the literature are very expensive. Now we tested currently marketed memory enhancers like piracetam, donepezil. All these could be detected using our cognitive board. They were effective. Memory impairing agents could also be tested as memory impairing agents. Memory enhancers could be tested as memory enhancers using this cognitive board. Therefore, new substances which possess memory enhancing property, new substances which have anti-Alzheimer potential can be tested on this cognition board. This model showed excellent face validity, construct validity, and predict validity. The idea came from a simple in human beings. Playing chess improves your concentration, improves your memory. Why not in animals? We filed a patent and it's an advanced stage. This is published in Gazette in Delhi. This was in 2015 and the student gets doctoral degree. Sushila Kora, my doctoral student, for devising a novel paradigm for testing memory. Newspapers covered बिसात पर चूहे चल रहे चाल जीते तो याद रखेगी दुनिया. We have something which mice can remember. So in life, if you want to be innovative, just be absurd, be out of the box. Never be bothered about लोग क्या कहेंगे. Never be bothered. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And the thing you said later that लोग क्या कहेंगे हमें bother नहीं होना चाहिए. That is very very inspiring, sir. Thank you so much for this session and the way you have described everything and the way you have inspired us. Really, thank you so very much. So, sir, for you, we have a very small token of appreciation from our department from Colloquium 2020, this international e-conference. I would like to present that in the screen, if you, with your permission. Maji sir, should I?
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Is it visible?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. So nice certificate. Huh?
So this one.
So prompt. Very good. Very appreciative.
It's a small token, sir. Do you remember us?
My pleasure. My pleasure. I hope delegates have been motivated to do original research.
Definitely, sir. You are a token of motivation for all the pharmacy professionals.
Thank you. Thank you. so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can you see the
Right.
chat box? Any questions? One or two?
Yes, sure, sir. Absolutely. So, as I have already said to put the question here, so it, okay, if you have any questions, you can put here because okay, there's a question, I guess. Okay, so far. Okay, so I'm just reading it out for you, sir. So the question goes like, sir, if the question is, if you have heard the case of Alan Turina, does okay, let me see.
Alan Turing.
Does any introvert? Yes, I'm sorry, Alan Turing. Does any introvert person be more innovative?
Yes. So, what is the question?
So question is he wanted to know, can an introvert person be more innovative than an extrovert one? I think.
Okay. See, we have two personalities: introvert and extrovert. The personalities deal with one's nature. Extrovert persons are more social, more outgoing, taking interest in more outdoor activities, whereas introvert persons stay more indoors. But when it comes to innovation, it's a different quality. Both the persons, introvert as well as extrovert, can be innovative. You just need to think out of the box. That's all. Thinking out of the box is important.
Right. So, right. So there is one more question in the chat box. It's like, is there any innovation technique or device for the protection and prevention of COVID-19? I think
Is there any device for
for for protection and prevention of COVID-19.
detection and prevention of COVID 19? Now, I'll tell you, COVID 19 pandemic happened in 2019, December. It is less than 4 months old now. The doctors who are treating the patients were not taught even during their entire MBBS, MD, or DM course about COVID 19. But with their general knowledge, they
Right, sir.
teach it. And I'll tell you, you all must have read in newspapers also. What they do is a patient is quarantined. He is given hot lemon sharbat and paracetamol tablet for medicine to remove his to lower the fever. That's the only medicine we have, and there is no vaccine. So there is no vaccine. There is no medicine. Yes, still we all have a vaccine medicine inside our body. That's our immunity, and we can prevent from developing symptoms. We cannot prevent from getting exposed. We will get exposed, we will get infected, but based on our immunity, we won't have symptoms. Some of us might have mild symptoms. There is no risk to death. Indians have a very high immunity. I'll tell you, no medicine or vaccine is going to come. Simple reason is you want vaccine to be effective for next 10 years. We took polio vaccine, measles vaccine, DPT when we were infants, and we have got protection for last 30, 40 years, 50 years. Now, unless the vaccine is tested for next 10, 15 years, how can it become available in 1 year? It's just not possible. So, inside our body, if you develop strong immunity, there are some immunity boosters. I had delivered a talk on immunity boosters in one of the webinars last week. It's an altogether different topic on immunity. The point is simple: work on your immunity, and you are preventing corona, you are preventing all other bacterial and viral infections.
Right, sir. So there's a last question we are having in the chat box. It says, the novelty of our work, how can one can improve or how one can confirm? The novelty of our work, how one can confirm?
The novelty of
Our work, our work.
our work, novelty of our work.
How can one confirm? How can someone confirm the novelty of our work?
It is so simple, I'll tell you. you want to do some novel work. And one slide I had told you, my guide said, see if we can do it in a better way. Now, there are a lot of failed stories before reaching an invention. We developed a raw board on day one. On day two, we improved a little over it. On day three, we improved a little over it. Over 10 days' time, a lot of improvement has come, and there was a huge difference between the first one and the last one. Same is the story. When you feel that you have developed something unique, don't stop with it. Work further on it. See your objective. See what's that you want to achieve and refine it. Refine it further. Continuously refine it. You will be creative. You will be producing something novel and you'll get satisfaction. The advantage of doing something novel is you get satisfaction. That is the thing. See, the girl student sitting here can also be novel, innovative in developing kitchen dishes. You can prepare all kinds of kheer. Today I had, papita kheer, which my wife had prepared. I had not heard of earlier. So it is just possible. You need to be innovative. You need to have innovative mind. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So there is no more questions till now. So if we have any more questions in the YouTube or Facebook, we'll be taking those and we'll be mailing it to you. So later on, you can answer if someone is having any more questions. Sir. So thank you so much, sir, for this nice session and for this inspiring session, I would like to tell. So thank you so much, sir. It's really our pleasure to have you amongst us as a speaker.
Thank you.
Really, thank you so much, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir. So now I would like to proceed further and I would like to hand over the session to my colleague, Mrs. Preeta Bose. So Preeta, please go ahead. Preeta, you're muted.
Yeah. Thank you, Saksha. Moving on to our next session, we have among us Professor Ranjan Jana. That would be our next plenary session. He is the Professor of Organic and Medicinal Chemistry Division, CSIR, Indian Institute of Chemical Biology, Jadavpur. He is working on development of green chemical synthesis concept with a special interest in pharmaceutical industrial applications such as green cross coupling reactions through cascade CH activation, visible light mediated reaction, CO2 utilization, etc. He is a CSIR outstanding scientist and has published more than 52 research articles in highly reputed international journals and filed a patent. He worked with John A. Tunge at University of Kansas, USA from 2008 to 2010, where he has developed a green catalyst called Janafose. Following his name, subsequently, he moved to the University of Utah, USA, and worked with Professor M.S. Sigman. Then he decided to return to India and joined as senior scientist at Organic and Medicinal Chemistry Division, CSIR IICB, in 2013. He has received prestigious Ramanujan Fellowship from SERB Government of India in 2013. He is actively involved in the awareness program of schools, colleges, NGOs, universities, and industrial sectors to promote green chemistry. He obtained his BSc in chemistry from Midnapur College in 2000 and MSc from Vidyasagar University in 2002. He has earned his PhD degree in organic chemistry from the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, IACS, under Jadavpur University in 2007. His PhD research theme is green chemical synthesis under the supervision of Professor B.C. Ranu. Then he moved abroad for higher studies. He did his first postdoctoral studies with Professor S. Breverman at Bar Ilan University, Israel in 2007. Then he moved to USA for the further postdoctoral studies. Sir, we welcome you here at the e-conference of JIS University today. You may proceed with your session, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, I will share my screen first.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
That's okay. So after hearing, mind-blowing presentation from Professor Parley, I am a very naive person to kind of introduce and into a different kind of field, very, very important these days, that is green chemistry. But today I am not going to talk so much about my science, what I am doing over here. Rather, considering the adverse nature of audience, I will put this thing into a kind of popular lecture mode where all audience actually can interact and enjoy the talk. So basically green chemistry and engineering from societal perspective. So this is the title of my talk. And before going to present my stuff, so basically my one of my friend is there, Dr. Otanu Kotal is there. So he told that there will be a good number of pharmacy students sitting over there who are listening to me. So eventually besides this CSIR institute like IICV, I have another job. I am an adjunct faculty at NIPAR Kolkata. So I got chance to interact with the pharmacy students. They actually, I see that there is a huge opportunity if you look at the drug discovery program, particularly pharmaceutical industries. Then there is actually three major components. Okay, one is medicinal chemistry division, which is composed into the pharmacy curriculum, and then natural product. So whatever active ingredient you are trying to get, that could be obtained from the nature. And then pharmacoinformatics division is there, who actually through in silico studies can tell you that these drugs which drugs could be possibly active. So to make your life easy for the MC students, or medicinal chemistry students, that which molecule you are going to synthesize. So combining these three divisions, you are boarding into the drug discovery program. Let me tell you one story. Those who are natural product chemists, they should actually consider, listening to their grandpas or grandmas, story. What is that? That is folk medicine. So I am from a farmer's family, and in that family, when I was, very like 15, 20 years old, I used to work with my fathers in the agricultural field, and lot of people, very hardworking people, they used to work with us for this agricultural work from the tribal areas. So those people were very, very hardworking. So what they used to take, I was really like astonished. And that time I did not realize. And now I realized what they are doing is absolutely fantastic. So basically they used to take water rice. In the morning, they used to take water rice, that is overnight, water rice with some susani sak, that is maybe medicinal chemistry people can figure it out. That is Marsilia minuta kind of vegetable. And with that, they used to take one or two or even multiple green chili. So that time, I did not understand how they can work hard and at the night they can sleep very well. Now I understood that from the water rice, they can get very nice probiotic stuff, which is good for your stomach. And from the green chili, they can get the painkiller ingredient, that is capsaicin. And from the Sujni sak, they get very nice sleep-inducing agent. So at the night, I could not sleep because of the body ache, but they sleep very nicely. So that means without knowing the science behind it, they actually knew very nice, absolutely fantastic, workable applied science, which is good for them. So science is everywhere, just keep your eyes open. So today I am going to discuss about the principles of some green chemistry, why green chemistry is needed, green revolution and consequences, plastic hazards, little bit of green engineering I will touch upon, and then little bit of my science, synthesis through CH bond activation chemistry and conclusions. So hydroxychloroquine is probably the most debated as well as discussed drug at this moment, at this COVID era. If you look at, there is two structures given here, chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. So eventually this drug was invented very long back, like 1901 and so on. So Bengal Chemicals and Pharmaceuticals, established by none other than Acharya Popula Chandra Ray, very long back, 1901, he is considered as the father of Indian chemistry. So if you consider that time he developed this chemistry and this molecule, and now also we are looking for that molecule. So science and pharmacy or pharmaceutical industries never forget things. Okay, sometimes it will come that some neglected drugs or diseases will appear again, and you have to consider those things. So if I consider or compare between these two drugs, chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine, then hydroxychloroquine is more safer and more bioavailable than the chloroquine. However, since we are in a urgent or emergency situation, so we cannot develop a new drug. It will take almost 10 to 15 years to develop a new drug. Rather, we can repurpose some existing drug. Okay, so this hydroxychloroquine drug is initially used for the malaria, then autoimmune disorders like lupus, rheumatic arthritis, it is used and prescribed regularly. However, now at this situation, we found that this particular medicine can reduce the virus load, so you can use this for COVID-19 treatment. Then we were into it, and then we thought, okay, let's synthesize this molecule. As a synthetic chemist, I have also fascination to synthesize this molecule. Then I found that this Bengal Chemical, what they do is basically they formulate the drug. This is a phosphate salt basically. So they basically take all raw materials from the China, and then basically they formulate it and sell it. However, when all raw materials are coming from China, then again you have to depend on the China. So there is the opportunity lies over here at this post COVID-19 era, that there is a golden opportunity in Indian pharmaceutical industries opening over here. And as usual, you know that already existing, India is the leading country in the world's generic drug market. So what is the logic behind it? Low cost, efficient workers are available here, and the market size is huge. Okay, and one more interesting thing you should consider, that India ranked third globally in chemistry. So this is, I am not talking this or I am not telling this. Indian chemists, they have a historic love affair with the chemistry. This says the Nature Index, that is the internationally published journal. So they are telling that in spite of having a lot of difficulties, very small funding, they do really good when they come to the chemistry part. Well, so far it is very good, no problem with this. Now, when we are talking about that, okay, India is going to do a lot of good things in the pharmaceutical industry, it's going to boost up. But let's look at the dark side of this. Bhopal disaster happened in 1984. After that, within or during this lockdown period, you can see that Visakhapatnam gas leak 2020 during this lockdown, few days back only. Another one, Gujarat gas leak 2020. What does it indicate? It indicates that when you are going to do or boost up or investing a lot of money into these pharmaceutical industries, then you should be very, very careful. You have to also consider the dark side or other side of this coin, that this kind of materials, when you are producing life-saving drugs, etc., agrochemicals, etc., at the same time, you are actually producing a lot of byproducts or waste products that will increase the environmental burden as well as accidental hazards. So cost effective, so there is the innovation lies here. You have lot of opportunities to develop a cost effective and environmentally benign process through innovation. That is very important. So now going back, for students, when they are thinking about chemistry, they have little bit negative impression about chemistry as usual. Okay, so what is chemistry? If you mix A and B and get C, what will be the nature of that C? You can understand through reading or studying chemistry. So in chemistry also there are several divisions: organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, physical chemistry, recently analytical chemistry, and medicinal chemistry is very huge, biochemistry, etc. So Magnus Pike nicely he wrote this, that if it moves some, then it is biology. If it stinks, it's chemistry. If it does not work, it's physics. So basically, in case of chemistry, we have very negative impression that, okay, don't, during your maybe 12th class, you know that when you are passing through the, corridors, where is the chemistry laboratory? Nobody has to tell you. You can understand very easily because of its obnoxious or, foul smell. So that is a negative impression. So basically in our lab, what do we do? So basically almost similar like cooking, at home we cook good food. At lab also almost similar way, we do something almost similar to cooking. So in the home, what we do is when you are cooking something, you take some vegetables or rice, whatever, then you pour some water and then basically you boil it for some time and stir it so that it will not be burnt or overcooked, and then basically you get the good food. But in chemistry laboratory, what we do is basically the same way. We take the chemicals, mix together, then we put some solvent like water, or here we use some organic solvents, then magnetically we stir here for a long time if needed and heat it also, and then end of the day we get some good product that could be life-saving drug like paracetamol. Here is the representation over here. So chemistry is taking the center stage, being a very basic science. So it's a basic science, very nice. At the same time, it's beautiful that it has a huge applied potential. Okay, so chemistry is everywhere. As you can see that from the morning you get up, you go for toothbrush, toothpaste, shaving creams, soap, and this cosmetics, the most attractive or say favorite section in the shopping complex for the girls particularly. Then you go for the entertainment. You can see that TV. Initially, that TV was like flat, but now it's a curved TV. Okay, so technology. And another very nice example given here is the frying pan. This is non-stick frying pan. You can see this is a very beautiful example. You can see that if you want to put one coat over there, like non-sticky coat on the surface of this thing, so that should be non-toxic, that should be heat durable, heat resistant, or heat durable, as well as it will stay there for a long time. It should not scratch out pretty quickly. So this here actually a lot of people, chemists, material scientists, everybody is putting hands together to innovate these kind of materials. So when I'm talking about green chemistry, what does it mean actually? Is that a colorful chemistry? Chemistry is always colorful, as you know. Then am I talking about the green color of the chemistry? Probably not. In the next slide, if you can see, Paul Anastas and Professor Werner, they actually define this green chemistry in this way, that green chemistry is the way to provide the things we benefit from today in a clean and sustainable way that does not harm the planet, green chemistry amongst the other thing is about, you have to minimize the waste, you have to recycle the things, reduce energy consumption, because all the time you will not get sufficient energy to do your chemistry, use renewable resources, and also improve the safety so that accident will not happen very often. So one example I am taking here, for example, potassium cyanide. Okay, the beauty of chemistry over here is potassium cyanide is highly toxic in nature when it is in a salt form. Okay, inorganic salt. However, what it does is, in our body there is a lot of enzymes contain iron, and that iron actually binds with the cyanide to get this enzyme iron, cyanated iron, which is actually cannot take the oxygen from the air, so people dies. Now, the same cyanide, when I am putting into the organic compound, here it is shown here in this cyanide group here in the organic backbone, now this is anti-cancer drug. So this life-threatening compound, cyanide, is now life-saving drug. So this is the beauty of chemistry, that you can convert completely the nature of the compound by changing or attaching into something else. Another example, why we need green chemistry, you can see here that this is salicylic acid. We do, this is salicylic acid. We do acetylation reaction in presence of acid to get this aspirin. Okay, this is also a drug, blockbuster drug we use almost every day. So when we are doing this reaction, then every steps we do for this simple acetylation reaction, we are doing in a round bottom flask, we are adding that in a solvent we are taking, and then we are doing the workup, and then we are purifying that one in the silica gel column, then to get the pure compound as a drug molecule. However, when we are doing so, in each and every step, we are generating lot of waste, chemical and solvent waste, acid-based waste, etc. We are generating, right? So maybe this aspirin molecule can reduce your headache, but because of this waste production and dumping into the earth, our mother earth is getting headache a lot. So there is the green chemistry requirement. So this cyanation chemistry, previously people used to use sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide. This is a simple example. Now people have innovated new reactions. You do the same cyanation chemistry. Instead of taking sodium or potassium cyanide, you can use actually acetonitrile, which is a solvent, kind of safe solvent. With that, you can actually do this same cyanation chemistry. There is the green chemistry concept, that you have to do the same chemistry, you have to perform the same chemistry. However, you should use very safe chemicals. That is very important component. Previously, some a presenter told that DDT story. DDT story, we know, it is very, important drug, and it was used excessively. However, in 1962, Rachel Carlson wrote a very nice book on this silent spring, and he wrote that the bad sides of this. So eventually, it was very helpful for the mankind, and ultimately it was withdrawn and banned in 1972 because of this toxicity. And now chemist has the responsibility why it happened. It was a life-saving drug and it was very useful, but how it became toxic? So now people figure out that all these chemistry people again figure out that it is because of the polymorphism. This is the recent story, that even though chemical composition is same, but the actually when you are crystallizing this molecule, if you crystallize that molecule in different ways in different solvent, then basically you can get the different product, although chemical composition is same. Some some structure is very toxic and someone is not. So they have now figured it out. So we learn from nature. So photosynthesis is the ultimate chemistry or green chemistry, nature is doing very safely. From there, what we can get is, we can get our food for life, as well as oxygen to breathe. So we learn a lot of things from nature, right? So here, carbon dioxide, nature is using carbon dioxide and water, using sunlight. There is plenty of, that is called renewable energy source, and then we are developing or generating glucose and oxygen, right? So learning from nature, Paul Anastas and Warner, they have devised 12 principles of green chemistry. So here is written, prevent waste, maximize atom economy. That means whatever molecule you are taking, you have to put all these molecules as much as you can into the product, so that byproduct or waste product will be minimized. Less hazardous chemicals you have to use, safer chemicals and products, safer solvents. That is very important, that when we are making something, we use organic solvents which is volatile in nature. It goes to the environment. Sometimes it is carcinogenic. Maybe you know that benzene was a very excellent solvent for the chemistry reactions. However, it is banned now because of the carcinogen. So increase energy efficiency, that means you have to do your reaction at room temperature or so that minimum energy input should be there. Use renewable feedstocks, that is very important. Your raw material should be plenty of available into the nature, so that in one day your process will not be just shut down because of the lack of your raw materials. Avoid chemical derivatives. This is typical chemical terms, that if you are using 5 steps and you are doing protection, deprotection, and all these steps, then you are actually elaborating the synthesis, so generating the lot of toxic waste. But if you can minimize steps, for example, say 5 steps chemical reaction in a single step, if you can do, that will be excellent. And use catalysts instead of using 1 equivalent, 2 equivalent, 5 equivalent of chemical toxic materials. You can use actually catalytic amount, small amount of catalyst, which can actually do your reaction. Design chemicals and products to degrade after use. It should be degraded, otherwise you are going to actually deposit into nature for a long time, and then analyze in real time. This is the chemical engineering component, that you have to actually analyze in real time. So basically what happens is, if you go to the industry, then you will see that they are not going into the field all the time. They are sitting in front of a computer, where actually control panel is there. You can see what are the parameters like temperature and all other parameters. So sitting in a AC room also, you can actually monitor the process. Minimize potential for accidents. So suddenly, for example, for some unknown reason, temperature is increased a lot. That means there will be a huge pressure generation. So there will be the explosion possibility. So you can actually shut down from that control room to prevent the accident. So these are the basic principles of green chemistry you have to learn. However, as a chemist or a scientist, whatever I tell, you should not believe. There should be some kind of matrix, like in mathematics, to measure the green nature of your reaction, right? So there is some formulas by which you can actually measure how much your green or your reaction green is. So here we calculate yield, chemical yield, how much product we are getting and how much product it was possible to get if it is 100% conversion. So this equation is there, and then E factor, total waste divided by product economy. So as I told, that the maximum atoms should be incorporated into the product, so that waste product will be less. Atom efficiency, effective mass yield, etc. There are the typical metrics you can use to measure your reaction, the greenness of your reaction. So after reaction, you have to actually collect all these solvents, etc., in a very planned manner. You cannot throw into the environment. So you have to collect it and properly dispose it. Like solid waste, also you have to properly dispose it, right? So That means in green chemistry, we have to consider, besides production, previously people used to produce anything by hook and crook. I don't care about anything, just at low cost, you give me the product. But now we have extra responsibility that no, I cannot do that. I have to produce the compound or say the desired drug. At the same time, I have responsibility to produce that at a very benign or environmentally safe method so that I will not produce anything which is very dangerous to the environment. That is the very important part. So I am switching gear to another consequence like green revolution. If you see that, you know, exponential growth of population in India, so it's very difficult that we can feed all peoples with the limited agricultural fields, right? So Boluak, who is considered as a father of Green Revolution, awarded Nobel Prize in 1970 for peace, he actually showed the road that actually you can increase the crop production in a greater extent, by developing high yielding varieties of crops. So Dr. Swaminathan was also considered as the Green Revolutionist in India. At the time of Dr. Srimati Indira Gandhi, he actually worked a lot, and Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, this side was adopted to conceptualize this green revolution. So high yielding varieties is fine, no problem. However, when we are going to the, we are always greedy, right? So high yielding varieties you have produced through genetic mutation and all, that is very hybridization, it is very fantastic. However, next we started thinking how even we can increase the yield further. So then the problem starts here. We started spraying, all kinds of agrochemical pesticides everywhere. You can see here that not only the agricultural fields, also you can see people are reaching to the trees also at the upper side. So then end of the day you are coming to a point that what is there on my food, you are very suspicious what I am eating now, whether it is really safe or not, right? And also there are a lot of negative impacts, as you know that in our biosystem there are a lot of bioremediation and bio bacterial who actually can fix the nitrogen, aerial nitrogen into the soil, so that you can get the soil will be fertile for a long time. However, this kind of excessive uses of this kind of fertilizers actually kills all this bacteria and all. So then after sometimes actually this lands becomes infertile. Okay, so until you are not using these fertilizers, these lands are not fertile at all. And also you are destroying completely the food chain. Some species may be excessive and some people are vanishing from the world. Maybe you know that now you cannot see vulture very frequently. So you are disrupting the food chain and disrupting the ecosystem completely. So as a consequence, you can see that polluted air, polluted nature, polluted sea everywhere. And also, that Kerala's endosulfan was used a lot in Kerala side for the cotton production, but finally people found that it's highly carcinogenic, and this is the molecule actually, and finally it was banned in 1976. 76. So it's very, very, critical situation. We are developing something, then you are using for a long time, and then finally we found that this is not safe enough. So there is the chemistry or green chemistry coming into play. So another very important thing is in our societal perspective, we see where is the ethics. When we are going to the market, we are looking for very shiny cucumber or even brinjal. And also when you are going to market, you can see that some sellers, fish sellers, they are actually dipping all these pieces into some kind of solutions, and after that you see that is very fresh looking. Okay, and we are gracefully taking those and coming home and eating that one. At the same time, if you see, like if you are going to the some Grameen fair, then you will see that jalebi, very attractive. So you take that, and the color is very attractive. However, very often it happens that this color is not very safe. Also, this cucumber, when maximum time we take that one.
Dr. Jana, sorry to interrupt you. We are running out of time.
Okay, so I will finish quickly. So,
Sure, sir.
Okay, so then organic farming concept is coming here. You can see that it was there. It was there in our society for a long time. It's nothing new. We can actually go back to this system again to actually inculcate our things. And also you can use a lot of natural product based fertilizers and pesticides. Chemists every day they are developing these kind of things which is very non-toxic and less harmful to the environment. So chemists are developing, you can see a lot of people are developing, a lot of chemists are developing day by day. They are doing innovative research to develop some innovative chemistry so that actually you can synthesize these molecules efficiently. Another incident I will go very quickly, that plastic hazards. You see, this plastic is now everywhere. Previously people used to take rice and their meals in a banana leaves. Okay, then this salty this plates were there, but now all converted to the thermocols. Okay, so that is the kind of destruction of all our environment. Dumping all after eating into the environment, and it takes long time to degrade that. And also, if you look at when you are taking tea nowadays, you are not going for for this kind of clay. Very rarely we are taking these clay pots. Rather, we go for immediately to this kind of teapots, like very toxic plastic pots. As well as our children are now having all these clay pots are gone, almost gone, and then all this China market you can see at your houses, right? So end of the day, we are actually sinking into the plastic waste, right? And also, this is a nature paper recently came out. These microparticles of these plastics actually now coming through the even water also. What we are drinking, very very warning, very warning here. So then there are lot of solution. You have to go for the alternatives, maybe jute or other degradable biodegradable things, and chemists are restlessly working on that. They are trying to develop some biodegradable polymers. For example, here is the concept. If you see, when we are taking ice cream in that kind of biscuit cones, then after eating the ice cream we take the biscuits also. So a day will come when we'll take the water in the bottle, as well as after finishing the water you will eat that bottle, so that it will be non-toxic, as well as it will give food to you. That is very important. And also you can convert, people are working on it, you can actually convert these materials like plastic waste into high-tech materials like carbon nanotubes, which is used in the lithium ion batteries and all. So in our group also we are working on this bio-based polymers. Instead of terephthalic compounds, we are using this FDCA. This is biodegradable one. We are working on that. So since it is running out of time, so basically I will end up over here. So basically, when you are a chemist, previously we used to synthesize molecule at any means, but now you have, or we have, extra responsibility. We have to synthesize the molecule, no doubt about it. At the same time, we have responsibility to say, synthesize this molecule in a very safer way. So after sometimes maybe industrial pharmaceutical industries in India will boost up a lot, but at the same time we have to be careful that we are going to develop or produce a lot of waste. we cannot simply dump all these compounds into the environment. There will be regulatory bodies to monitor this system. And thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very informative session on green chemistry. Even being a pharmacist myself, I can understand everything pretty clearly from your lucid language. So quickly, we will move on to the questions. We have one question in our chat box. Sir, Dr. Tathagoto, they wanted to know which type of solvents do we prefer in green synthesis?
Which kind of?
Which type of solvents do we prefer in green synthesis?
Okay, so in that sense, no solvent will be the great concept. People are working on that, and a lot of success are there. But even though we use, then water will be the most safest solvent because we drink water, right? So it is safest one, less toxic as well as less, plenty of things is available. However, again, I'm telling, so at this point, if you use water as a solvent, fine, but you will generate a lot of aqueous waste also. So you cannot simply just throw that one to the environment. So that aqueous waste also you have to treat properly before disposal. That is very important. But ideally, water is one of the best solvent, but a lot of chemical reaction will not work in water. That our experience is.
Thank you so much, sir. We have some other questions, but since we are running out of time, we will send them as an email attachment to you, and you can answer them, and we are going to get back to the participants on it, sir. So we have a token of appreciation for you. I would request Sakshar to please show it to us and also to sir.
Sure. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
So I will come out from the screen sharing.
Just a moment. Is it visible to everybody? Sir, you have to stop your screen sharing.
Okay, so I'll stop video as well as
Stop sharing.
stop share. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So this is what we have, sir.
Thank you, sir, for being such an integral part of us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lord. Yeah, very nice.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to our last plenary session of the day today, we have Dr. Chandra Ghosh with us. Dr. Chandra Ghosh is the instructor in emergency medicine, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, Harvard Medical School, Boston. Was an instructor in pediatrics, Department of Medicine, Boston Children's Hospital, and Harvard Medical School. He holds a position of research fellow or scientist in BIDMC Boston for around 7 years. He was also a senior research fellow in the Department of Pharmacology, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMS, for a couple of months. Before that, he was an assistant editor part-time in the Medi News at the IJCP Group, New Delhi, India. He had been in teaching profession for approx 4 years as an assistant professor in Gupta College of Technological Sciences, Asansol, West Bengal. He has around 26 peer-reviewed journal publications and 2 book chapters by his name. He completed his B.Pharm and M.Pharm from Jadavpur University and also completed his MS and earned his PhD in Inflammation and Immunology, Biological Sciences from St. John's University, New York. I would request Dr. Ghosh to kindly meet us with his presence here. And I welcome him to our e-conference today at JIS University. So the stage is all yours.
Hi. I am 1 minute. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Thank you very much for introducing me. Just wanted to let you know I am no longer over at Harvard, so I switched my job. Presently, I'm a director of cellular therapy development over at Roger Williams Medical Center, Providence. So, 1 minute, this is new to me, a little bit new to me, and can I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't see myself on my screen. I'm sorry. How to do that? I just wanted to.
So,
Yeah.
so if you want to,
You hover your finger at the screen. At the bottom, you'll find a green button, share screen.
Oh no, share screen is fine. I just wanted to see myself on the screen because this is very kind of nostalgic because I know you from my.
Click on the screen.
Yeah. Okay. So let me
You are on the
show
screen.
you. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me make it slideshow. So that's me, and this is very nostalgic for me because I know there are many mentors in this group, my friends, my colleagues, and my seniors and juniors in this group, and it's very exciting. I also found one of my students from Gupta College is also there, so it's fantastic. For me, it's good morning, and I know I'm the last presenter, so please hang on with me. So what I'm going to tell you in terms of Dr. Jana's, follow through that we are synthesizing chemistry and all this thing. It takes a lot of time, but we can make a new way, and people are doing it. We are doing it for a long time to drug repurposing. And I'm going to show you today where to start. And all this data and information you will get it online. But what I'm trying to tell you, what I we discovered something, and that can be very useful. So as you know, the drug development process has different steps. I don't have to tell you. All of you are, like pharmaceutical student. That it starts from discovery, preclinical, clinical trials, review, approval, post approval, and it costs in approximately $2.6 billion, which is a lot of money if you start from the discovery to review approval or post approval. But if you repurpose the drug, means the drug you have FDA approval or your government approval to safe use, and if you can repurpose it from some other diseases or some other ailment, then it is low risk because that drug is not toxic that much, and it will give you high return. So there will be more investment. As you know, in de novo drug discovery, it takes 10 to 17 years, and the profitability success is less than 10%. Now, if you do drug repurposing, you just chop up like 7 years of your life, kind of. So you can get a drug approved in 3 to like 6, 7 years. And in US, especially, there is also a group in NIH. So they have funding, a lot of funding for drug repurposing because it's a faster approval process. If the drug has safety, efficacy, and then it can go to the market. So this is a very kind of general slide I wanted to tell you because you do this thing. I did this thing also. Starts from bench, animal studies, clinical trial, then it goes to the patient, and from the patient we get a lot of information. It starts from your genetics, toxicity, and that come back to bench. And as Dr. Jana was mentioning, the thalidomide story is the same thing. It went to the bedside, because that time there was not much clinical trial protocol. And then that came back to bench. And you will be surprised to know that one of the enantiomer, I think stereoisomer of thalidomide is safe. People are using it. So these are the steps. Because I'm also a medicinal chemistry student from Jadavpur University, so I try to understand chemistry too. But I got a little bit motivated to understand what is going on inside the body. So I did my PhD in molecular biology. So now these are the different steps. If you go to Google, you will see this slide. The reason this is very important because it was, if you also read this review, it's pretty interesting. You can select your molecule of interest by any means. You can do it by molecular docking, signature matching, genetic association, and then you figure out which pathway you need to go. Like, so when I say pathway, I means, if you have genetic data set, what are the pathways, for example, inflammation, whether it is your immunology, or whether it is, MAP kinase pathway, getting upregulated, and then you choose your drug molecule. So now these are the success stories, like all this list, I don't have to go through each and every one. Those molecules was basically approved for something else, but they're used in different diseases. For example, infliximab, like antibody against TNF alpha, it is used in Crohn's disease now. So these are the serendipitous discovery. People found Botox, cisplatin, Viagra, warfarin, penicillin. It just, people found out. Someone who is, for example, also, again, for the hair growth, people started using as a anti-hypertensive medicine, but it came out that people who are taking it, they're growing, start growing hair. So preclinical to market, I don't have to tell you this thing. What I'm trying to tell you that these are the steps. Hello, Himanshu. Hello. Okay.
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir. Hello.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm so sorry. Thank you. So these are the steps we can do. Now, next slide. This is the COVID era, and whatever medicine we have, all those repurposed drugs. So we need to understand the biology, how virus is getting into our system, and then you can target each and every molecule. For example, temperase. This is a enzyme which is which is pretty important. This inhibit receptor S2. So we have all this molecule. I don't have to go through each and every one. You will have these slides, so we can try everything. So in US, remdesivir did something pretty good. But if you know the half-life of the remdesivir, then you'll ask yourself. But anyway, this is also one drug. This is a repurposed drug. Now, what I am going to tell you a little bit of my research story, that how we develop this concept, right? Think about it. I'm endothelial biologist, so we understand blood vessel a little bit better. So in endothelial cell, you have different layers of endothelial. Like in our vessels, we have different layer. Inner layer is the endothelial cell. So in diseases, when it leaks, you have all this fluid going here and there. There's no control, and you get the severity of the disease. And one of the disease like that is sepsis. When you get infection, you have massive vascular disruption, and then there's a swelling of the patient. And on the other hand, it's immunity is everywhere. And then this patient goes to emergency, and most of the time it dies. It's one of the 10th killer in US, sepsis. So what we understood, that there is a particular pathway which is very important in endothelial biology as well as in cancer. It's called Tie2 angiopoietin pathway. Tie2 is a receptor tyrosine kinase, as you see here, and it has two ligands. One is angiopoietin 1 that activates this Tie2 pathway, thereby it increases the barrier function. So as you can see it here, it's depicted here. And angiopoietin 2, which is a bad molecule, which itself present in the endothelial cell, and when you have inflammation, then it gets upregulated, and that kind of blocks this angiopoietin 1 action, and then thereby disturbs this vessel. So in sepsis or in any diseases, when you have more angiopoietin 2, then you have like more disease severity. So that's what we did. This is the many research, and Tie2 is very important also in terms of like in Ebola, they did a mouse model, and the gene they found, it was Tie2. But anyway, I'm not going to link this one with the COVID-19, but it's also important that in COVID-19, one of the complications people see is the leakage. So what we found in patients who comes to emergency department at Beth Israel, Beth Israel is a teaching hospital of Harvard Medical School, and then we followed up this patient who is surviving and who is not. The patient who is not surviving has really high level of angiopoietin 2 in their circulation as compared to the patient who is going to make it. Now, try to understand the inside out. So now we are trying to understand the receptor biology also. So here, in influenza, in malaria, in LPS, which you try to create a in vitro model or like in mouse model by injecting LPS sepsis kind of thing, even also anthrax. What we have seen that in all these chemicals, doesn't matter whether it is bacterial, viral, or parasitical, you have reduced level of Tie2. So now what if you have a disease, what you need to do? You need to kind of block angiopoietin 2, as well as you need to upregulate Tie2 function. And then this is other important. So we have this mouse, genetic mouse, where you don't have one copy of the Tie2. They look healthy and happy, but whenever you challenge them with lipopolysaccharide or LPS, or you do some sepsis model like CLP, that's what they call cecal ligation perforation. So in both the model, so mouse which doesn't have both the copies of Tie2, they die faster as compared to wild type Tie2 mouse. So it gives you proof of concept. Now, so after knowing all these knowledges, where to go? So you go for one unbiased approach. So what are the molecules in FDA approved libraries are inhibiting angiopoietin 2? Because that's what we need to do. So here what I'm showing you, this is one depiction of high throughput assay where you are growing the cells and you are we have one assay method for ELISA to detect angiopoietin 2, and you are treating these cells with different FDA approved compounds, like 700 compounds, and you run, ELISA, and you find what are the compounds are important. And then, because these compounds are FDA approved. Now, what we found that simvastatin and lovastatin are the two major hits. As you know, simvastatin is HMG CoA reductase, and people in America mostly, and I also know in India, that they have people over 40 years having some lipid issues, and Indian males are susceptible for that. And then you have reduction, doctor prescribes statins. So now there are different kind of statin. I'll go into that in details later. So this is a mevalonate pathway picture I have here. So we found this compound. So if you found this compound, you need to learn more. So this is the IC50 determinations we used. This is the ELISA data, and this is RNA abundance. So what statin is doing dose dependently, it reducing the synthesis, like gene synthesis of angiopoietin 2, as well as production of angiopoietin 2. So this is kind of mRNA to protein kind of linear direction. Then what we did, we looked into different cells. These are the mouse cell. These are the cells isolated from mouse. These are endothelial cell, and both heart endothelial cells and kidney endothelial cells. Even if you treat them with simvastatin, angiopoietin 2 reduces, as you can see in the Western blot also, and the T2 is dose dependently increasing. So statin can do both. It can basically regulate the endothelial function. So this is another assay. It's called multiplexing assay. What it does, you are growing a cells, and if you wanted to see whether your cells are kind of stretching themselves or they are relaxing, kind of thing. So you grow cells on a biotinulated collagen, and then these are not general material. These are the elastic substrate. They can stretch a little bit. And so we have the fluorescent bead in this elastic substrate. When you are growing cells, if the cell stretches, the fluid beads will move. So more movement is there. They have one physics also here, Fourier chemistry, and based on that, you can find out the hotspots. So thing who moves more, they have more hotspot. That means they are more contractile. So when you have more contractile, if you treat the cells, endothelial cells with thrombin, you have more contractile. More gaps. Now, when you have biotinulated collagen, if things moves, you can also find out the gaps by putting streptavidin. So, and then whenever you have thrombin, you have more contractions. And now Y27632 is a rho kinase inhibitor. And people say, it has been shown that statin is also functional rho kinase inhibitor. Then you have relaxation. So the reason I'm showing you this slide to give you some insight that from a basic science perspective, you can also bring things into real life, and you will understand the biology behind it, what's going on. So nowadays, biology is not only biology; it's it has everything. Like this is physics, chemistry, and biology, and pharmacology, whatever you want to say. Now, in next slide. So in recent paper, what our group have shown that statin, so these cells are airway smooth muscle cell. So the data you saw, those were endothelial cell. And the airway smooth muscle cell is present in lungs. And the people who are suffering from asthma, they have kind of constricted lungs. So in ASM, these are three different statins: pitavastatin, simvastatin, pravastatin. What we found, if you perform those kind of multiplex assay, dose dependently as well as time dependently, you see there is a reduction of contraction when you treat those cells with pitavastatin as well as simvastatin. Now we have to understand the kind of physiochemical property of this statin. Pitavastatin is hydrophilic. Pravastatin is hydrophilic, and simvastatin and pitavastatin are hydrophobic, lipophilic. So in the lipophilic statin, you see reduction of contraction. And now if you treat them with histamine, which increases the contraction, that can be prevented with a lower dose by pitavastatin. It suggests that pitavastatin is more potent. Now, in this graph, what you see, this is like not an irreversible effect. You can reverse it. So your thing is going like that, and if you change the media of the solution, it goes back. So this is not killing the cell. And we, in that paper, as you see here, we have shown all this data. And when you do we use pitavastatin when you give them intratracheally, like within the trachea, and then this mouse develops airway smooth muscle contraction by itself, and treating with the pitavastatin, it reduces. And this is the mechanistic slide. So we just wanted to make sure whether it follows the mevalonate pathway. As you know, after the mevalonate, you have farnesylation, granulation, and then end of the day you have mevalonate. So we just wanted to make sure whether if we general pyrophosphate. So if we can kind of recover this one with the pitavastatin. So if you block with GGPP and pitavastatin, it gets back. So it is basically the mevalonate pathway dependent, and this is MA's mevalonate. So when you have mevalonate as well as pitavastatin, it comes back. So this is the pathway. Basically, most of the paper, you see the gist of the paper. As I told you, and we have shown in the paper that statin regulating the actin cytoskeleton and thereby regulating contraction. Now, this is nice. We publish paper, we get grants from NIH, but what is the implication? How can we transform this one? So now we have to understand, for example, simvastatin kind of pharmacology, right? As you know, when you take statin, the half-life of simvastatin is very low, right? 2 hours, and the amount, and it's highly protein-bound drug. The amount it reaches to our circulation is very low amount. That's why, because statin goes to liver and gets synthesized, transformed, because whatever simvastatin we take, that's prodrug, that is lactone form. In liver, we get hydroxy form after metabolism. And in the blood, you always have this kind of interaction between lactone form and hydroxy form. So we need to understand why pitavastatin is more potent, because pitavastatin itself is active drug. It doesn't have to go for any biotransformation. Now, think about the biotransformation of simvastatin. It takes CYP 450, and that's why it interacts with several molecules. You cannot use simvastatin with macrolides or something, like antifungal drugs, ketoconazoles. So we need to understand everything. So what happened? So we formed one company based on these ideas, and this is our team. It's called Instatin Inc. We work with statin, and how can we treat asthma and other diseases. And this is investors like the idea, and we recently got funding for this company. So as you guys are going through, this is for pharmacy student. I've been through the same steps, and what I realized, as Dr. Jana was mentioning, keep your eyes and ear opening. Science is everywhere, so you have to just face the moment. And I don't know how much this company will do, but one thing I am very happy about it. We thought about it on the bench. We went through several papers. We went through all the literature, and we then confirmed which study is good, which study bad, because whatever is matches with us. And if some study doesn't match, we were more cautious. We had to do more experiment, more validations. So I think these are the learning experience, and now we can. And these are my acknowledgements. And as you can see, this is my family who goes through us. Like both my wife and myself are scientists. So scientist family is always a little bit crazy. And this is my previous labs in VIDMC Harvard, Boston Children's, and presently I'm at Roger Williams Medical Center, which I kind of lead the lab. And thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let me know. And Himanshu, Dr. Maji has my email address. If you want to reach out to me, please do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Even though it was our last session, but really we did not feel that at all.
I'm sorry?
Sir, even though it was our last session, you spoke in such a way and you told us informative things, really did feel like it was the last session of our day.
No, for me, it's the first session of my day. Can you believe that?
Yes, sir.
I know this is real pleasure to know you guys. I was in Gupta College of Ecological Sciences, and I had great mentors there, and my friends, and as well as so everyone is very helpful. And I always wanted to know what's going on in the cell. And then I jumped into this research and just trying to do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Rita, if you can read out the questions from the YouTube also.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Do you have any question?
Sir, we have a question in the chat box. I will read it out for you.
Okay, yeah.
It is written here. Can you explain recruiting status, not yet recruiting, complete and terminated state of drug in clinical study?
One second. Can you repeat the question? I think I have a little bit of issue with the Wi-Fi maybe.
It's there in your chat.
Sure, sir. Can you explain?
1 minute.
Sir, it is written. Can you explain?
Yeah, can you please repeat the question again? I'm so sorry,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you explain recruiting status, not yet recruiting, completed and terminated status of drug in clinical trial study?
Oh, yeah. So this is really a good question for like regulatory people, But I can tell you what I know, that so this is very legal jumbo. So when a drug drug goes through different session of clinical trial, like different phases of clinical trial, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then you have phase 4, which is after it is approved for clinical. And then honestly, if this question needs to be clarified a little bit better for me. I think I don't have right or wrong answer, but the situation is that every drug should go through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And when you have phase 1, it's in the for the safety and toxicity, and then phase 2 you have a little bit of efficacy, and also the less you have to find out the toxicity. And the phase 3 is basically randomized clinical trial. And then when it is approved, FDA approves, particularly in USA, then it goes to market, and then you have post-surveillance. So that's the phase 4. So now, recruiting status of a drug, I don't have any idea. And also, I have to tell you something. Even in the US, doctors can prescribe any drug as off-label if he thinks that it is useful. And most of this COVID trial in US is also running by investigator-initiated trial. The doctor thinks this drug might work. It's not like our president says some drug is going to work, but yeah, it might work. So like that. But I'm so sorry, this was not right and straightforward answer for me. I think this is very good question for regulatory, speakers, right? So that would be good.
Dr. Bose, we have a question in the YouTube. It says, I found that Doveto and Ribavirin are used in repurposing against COVID-19 may be good.
So here's the thing: none of the trial. We have to think about it because we are a health professional. We have to think about whether the trial was controlled, like randomized trial or not. Now, for example, COVID-19 trial in China, yes, all this antiviral drug works, and remdesivir worked in India. They worked in USA because what they have found that it reduces the days of hospitalization. In our hospital, we also run COVID trial, so we have some other molecule. At this moment, when the patient comes to the hospital, they're really sick. You have to understand, not all the patients get this kind of pulmonary problems. So yes, all the drug works in France. Both hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin combination worked. But you have to understand the status of the patient when they come to the hospital. And the mechanistically, chloroquine is the best drug in vitro to inhibit any kind of SARS kind of disease to get into the system, right? Because due to its mechanism of action. So, as I told you, yes, it does, but you have to find out by doing rigorous clinical trial whether it's going to be effective. I hope the vaccine will come soon, and people won't have to worry much about repurposing drug. But if there is a drug which is going to help you, because as you know, influenza, it also affects like 2% of population every year. And I think, like mortality rate in US is 1.5% for influenza. So COVID will be deadly in the future too. So we have to find out not only vaccine, but also some drugs too. But as I told you, remdesivir, the half-life is so low. I don't know how it's working. Maybe initially it is reducing the virus burden, so thereby affecting the progression of virus in the body. Yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you. Rita?
Yes, sir. So we have a small token of appreciation for you. I would request Saksha to show it to everyone and also sir.
Sure, Prakash, sure. So just excuse me for a minute. Okay. Just let me know if it is showing because I'm just handling it from my cell phone.
Yes,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah,
I have to stop the screen, okay? Did I do? Okay. Yeah, stop.
Is it showing, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, something's coming. It's so exciting. Thank you.
This is from all of us.
Oh,
it's
thank
a
you.
small
Yeah.
token of appreciation from our end.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, can you please send it to via email, Saksha? Thanks.
Sure,
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure,
Thank
sir.
you very much, and have a great day. Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Have a great day too, sir. Bye bye. So I have a small declaration.
That's it.
Sure, sir. Whoever is unmuted, please mute yourself. I'm just going to discuss. I'm just going to declare about the tomorrow session schedule. So we have tomorrow session schedule like today. So let me just tell you in brief what do we have tomorrow. So 12th June we'll be starting from 10 a.m. So we are having in the first half three plenary sessions. There is three plenary sessions. First session is from 10 to 11. Dr. Jason Ortwiz we are having. The next plenary session we are having that is from 11 to 11:45. That is Dr. Sumit Mukherjee. And next we are having the plenary session number 3 for tomorrow is Dr. Sanjay Kumar Sharma. Then we'll be having a break, and then we'll be moving. After the break, we'll be moving towards the e-oral and e-poster presentation. We'll be having a parallel session that will be in the Google Meet platform. If there is anybody here like who are participants for tomorrow in e-poster or e-oral, I'm sure you must have got your got the link of Google Meet. If you, I'm sure you have got. So please download the app in your cell phone, or if you have your if you're dealing with your laptop or desktop, you don't have to download anything. But for your cell phone, you do have to download the Google Meet app, and this session will last till 4 p.m. From 1:30 we'll be starting the session, and it will last till 4 p.m. And after the 4 p.m. we'll be having two plenary session. One plenary session, the first plenary session after the break, after the presentation, will be off from Dr. Amitabh Ghosh, and next we'll be having the next and last plenary session of tomorrow will be from Dr. Chiranjeev Pal. So this will be the schedule of tomorrow's session of our conference. And I have seen a lot of people are asking about the feedback form link, and they're also sharing the email. Thank you so much for your help for giving us the email address. So those who have registered already and have given their email address in the registration form, will be sharing the feedback form link there. Okay, and we are hoping to share the link at the end of the 3 day session. And once you'll be filling up the feedback form later after 3 day session, you'll be getting your certificate for participation and so on. So this is the protocol we are following. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Sakshat. To all the audiences, I need to one more thing is that we have stretched our session a little bit because we are working with our speakers. Someone is from Australia and another one is from US, another is from Thailand or Malaysia. So that's why the schedule has been made accordingly. It may be sharp at 10 and it may extend till 6 p.m. in the afternoon. So please bear with us. No issues, and feedback form will definitely share to all the participants. No issues at all. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks to all of the participants for staying with us till the time. It's really a great thing to see. Thanks a lot. We will be concluding right now with the permission of Mari.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you, and good night to all of you.
Good night, sir.